You got a tough act to follow. I know that it's always UCLA, USC. Jim Mora was here on Monday, and he was pretty good. Just letting you know, Sark.
He's been pretty good for a few years now. They've been pretty good.
And he says it bothers people that you two are friends. That you, it's like Michigan and Ohio State never get along. They never even mention the other school. But you two are friends, good friends.
Well, what's different, I think, Dan, about being in L.A. with that rivalry is it literally splits households. I have 2 older sisters that graduated from UCLA. It literally, and, I don't know if you know this, Jim's daughter goes to SC.
Yes.
So it literally splits households. So it's a great rivalry in that it is competitive, and the colors are so drastically different and the whole thing. But at the end, the game's done, and I think everyone kind of melds themselves back together, and we're in Dannywood. We're just kind of hanging out here.
Okay, could you hire Jim Mora's daughter to be like an equipment manager?
I don't know if she's an equipment manager, but something. I should probably go on sabbatical for about a week when we were playing the Bruins.
But it is interesting, though, that Coach Mora said, look, people don't understand how influential Steve Sarkisian was for my career. He got me in this business here. And you saw something in him, took him under your wing, and you even vouched for him for the USC job. He said you helped prep him, or UCLA job, you helped prep him for the interviewing process.
Well, we just had a good relationship, and when it went down in Seattle for Jim, after only being there head coach for a year, we were living down the street from one another. Then he had the knee injury skiing, and he said, "Can I rehab?" I said, "Sure." And he said, "Do you mind if I hang out?" I said, "No." And we just kept talking, and I was picking his brain. He's got a wealth of experience from the NFL. I was picking his brain too. He was seeing how we did the college thing, how much, what is this recruiting stuff you guys do every day? And he's done a great job, really. He took over for Rick at UCLA, inherited a pretty good team. Rick had done a good job recruiting Brett Hundley and these guys, and Jim has just kept it going. So it's made for a really good rivalry. It's made my job a lot more difficult, I can tell you that. That's for sure.
Okay, but are you competing? If you were going to go into a house anywhere in the Pac-12 area, who are you competing against, though?
Everybody, but most notably, really UCLA. I mean, when you really think about it,
more than Oregon.
Yeah, because the majority of the kids we all recruit are in Southern California. The majority of them, when you just look at our board, not all the kids we sign, but the ones that we recruit, probably 3/4 of them are in California or Southern California. Well, there's SC and there's UCLA. And that's the reality of it. Stanford's doing their thing now. What Jim started, what David's kept going. And Oregon's found their niche too and what they're doing in recruiting right now. But Oregon, if you really look at their roster and if you really look at who they're signing, they're a little bit more national than probably the rest of us. I mean, we're probably the next most, and UCLA the next most, and Stanford somewhat. But the rest of our conference is really focused on the West Coast and in California.
What do you like on signing day or commitment day? If I'm with you, what are you going to be like?
I'm intense to some degree, but I'm excited. I know that it's finally the end of that kind of, almost for us, that's the end of the fiscal year, right? I mean, and so you're closing. You have all these kids that have verbally committed, but a verbal commitment means, a grain of salt doesn't mean much. You really want to see that fax come in or the email come in.
Why are we still doing a fax machine?
I don't know, Dan. I said this last year at signing day. They said next year we're gonna fix it. We're gonna get to something. There's got to be a better way.
Well, Morris said that the fax machine jammed up at UCLA.
Yeah. Nowadays they can take pictures, they can do different things, but I think there's some significance of the fax machine, and just like a lot of issues in college football, it's hard for us to move forward. It's hard, we love the history, we love the tradition of it. And the fax machine is just one of them. You hear that thing in the paper, it takes forever to come out.
Wait, so you're just gathered around watching that piece of paper come through a fax machine?
To some degree, yes. Unfortunately, a bunch of grown men whose lives are on the line, making sure we sign the right kids.
Who broke your heart?
Oh, I can admit it now because it's kind of over and done with. Jimmy Clausen got me pretty good. Jimmy Clausen. And I know that doesn't sound like the biggest name in the world. At the time, it was a big deal. He and his dad came to our office on a Wednesday evening, and Jimmy had on his SC football T-shirt, and Pete and I are meeting with him in my office, and we're thinking he's supposed to commit Friday. This is a great sign, right? Next thing we know, he's in a limo going to the College Football Hall of Fame in South Bend, Indiana. He's committing to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So,
what happened in between there?
I think he probably got on a private jet and flew to South Bend and went and committed. I don't know. But
did you ever talk to him after the fact?
I did, oddly enough. And I saw his family and his brothers and his parents after a game, I think a year or two later, and we talked. They're good people. It was just one of those moments where, for about 48 hours, I was pissed. I'm glad they didn't call me.
Well, did Pete blame you? Was it your job to get Jimmy Clausen?
Oh, it was a team effort, and that's how we recruit now. Pete was excellent at that. Pete's a great recruiter.
But Pete didn't say, Sark, where do we stand with Clausen? And you say, hey, looking good. He's showing up here.
Yeah, but Pete was so hands-on. Pete could have answered that question, and that's how he recruited. And I think that's why some of the recruiting rules have changed for head coaches, because guys didn't want to recruit the way Pete recruited. He wanted to spring recruit. He wanted to be out every day. And now that has changed some. We're really limited as head coaches of how much we can do now.
How often do you talk to Pete Carroll?
I just saw him in Hawaii probably 2 weeks ago. I was paddleboarding under a bridge with my daughter, and he was riding a bike with his wife going over the bridge. And so we talked quite a bit. It was interesting when we were both in Seattle together. Probably not as much as we do now that we're separate, because you just get going and we're in the same city and you're doing a bunch. But he's an unbelievable mentor to me. Unbelievable. I mean, that guy he's the reason I'm sitting here talking to you.
But could you be honest with him if he said, what did you think of the final play in the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah, I'd be honest with him.
And what would you say?
I'd say I agree with the decision to throw it. I don't know necessarily about the play call itself because I wasn't in the game planning. I can't judge what they thought in game planning and getting prepared for that game and in critical moments and all those things. But from a tactical standpoint, with 3 downs to go, only 1 timeout remaining, the correct decision, in my opinion, would be to throw the ball on 2nd down, knowing you could run it on 3rd and then you have a run pass option on 4th. They chose that call to throw that ball. I don't necessarily if I would call that call, but that was their call, and that's what they prepared to do. And so you can't fault them for it. The kid from New England made a heck of a play.
He did make a great play. I just thought that if you're going to throw a pass, I got to have a fade. I have something that's in the end zone to the right, but I want the run pass option with Russell Wilson. I want to put pressure on the defense there. I got the feeling, and I don't like saying out-coached, but Belichick prepared for that play earlier in the week. Mm-hmm. He was ready for it. I'm going to show you a run defense. I want you to pass, and I know where you're going to pass. And Malcolm Butler got beat for a touchdown on Wednesday of Super Bowl week, same play. And he said, you must get to the ball, which is pretty incredible for Belichick to say.
Oh, I mean, without a doubt. Coach Belichick is, you could argue, one of the best, if not the best of all time. So,
can you be outsmarted by a coach during a game?
Sometimes you can be outsmarted by yourself in a game.
Yeah. I do that every day.
Believe me,
every day on this show.
You get the paralysis by analysis, within the game. But sure, I mean, there's guys coach for a reason, and they get paid a lot of money for a reason. And so I think at the end of the day, you have to stick to who you are, and you have to stick to your beliefs, and then the strengths of your team, and play to your team. And if that's good enough to win, it's good enough to win. But Coach Belichick, he's an excellent coach. That's why they've won 5 Super Bowls or whatever it is, and they got him at the end when they had to make the play.
I mentioned Jim Mora, if you two got in the octagon, just you two, who wins? And you against him.
And he said?
He said it'd be a tough fight, but he would take you. Why were you waiting for his answer on it?
He just said, did he?
Yeah. Wait, I believe Morris said that, didn't he?
I'm not opposed to making up a quote.
Yeah,
or two.
I may have made up a quote.
I
may have made up a quote there. No, I think Morris said it would be tough, but yeah, he could take you.
Did he?
Okay, let's say he said that.
Okay. I'd look for a tap out. I don't know if I'd be in there trying to fight with Jim for minutes upon minutes. So I'd just maybe look for a tap out.
What if I put all the Pac-12 coaches in the octagon? Who's coming out?
Probably Jim and I at the end, standing there going toe to toe.
Really?
Oh yeah.
David Shaw, not.
Oh, David might be there too. David's a tough guy.
Leach is crazy.
Yeah, he might just sit up on the perch or something and wait till he'd have a plan for us to all kind of kill each other and then just jump down and say I won.